So you look at your Uber rating and see that some drivers have given you a 1-star rating. You're not told which driver gave you a 1-star rating and you're now angry. I will go through why the Uber star rating in its current form is flawed and needs reform. After taking an Uber trip as a passenger, the driver is told to rate you on the scale of 1 to 5. Here's the first problem. What's the criteria of working out which rating to give? As far as I know, there isn't one. There's no reference that the driver can use, resulting them in giving you a 5 or a 1, almost by reflex. I'm told, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the driver has to give each passenger a rating before they can move on to the next trip. So in practice, they only have a split second to make a decision. As a passenger, there's no way I can challenge a rating, and as I don't know why I got a low rating, how do I improve for the next ride? Feedback should be constructive. This video is not intended to be a criticism against Uber drivers or passengers. Shout out to the 99% of Uber drivers who's rated me with 5 stars. This is an educational video looking at how we can improve the system. Uber on their website have given some reasons why drivers have given fewer stars. Even these reasons have flaws. The first reason they give is not to leave a mess behind. This I agree with, but is it a 1-star offence? I can understand if you vomit or spill something. But what if you are picked up on a rainy day and are soaking wet through? Buckle up. Now I agree with this. It is illegal not to wear a seatbelt as a passenger in the UK if one is provided. Don't do this and you deserve a 1-star. In fact, you deserve a 0-star. Be ready. The driver should not have to wait for you, within reason. Uber tells you the expected time of the arrival of your ride, so there's no excuse if you're being picked up from home. You should make your way to the pickup point in good time before your ride arrives. However, finding the pickup point might be difficult if you're in an unfamiliar surrounding, such as an airport. If you're in a covered area, the GPS on your phone may be quite a bit off the pickup location. Remember, the Uber map is 2D, so pickup points may only sometimes be at ground level in some multi-story car locations. Occasionally, the driver will make contact with you for an alternative pickup spot. I've seen videos that show that being late means some drivers will automatically rate you with 1 star. Is this the same level of penalty as someone who makes a mess in your taxi? Treat everyone with respect. This I completely agree with. No physical contact unless you need Uber Assist as part of your disability. Conversations should not be personal, threatening or rude. In some countries, taxis have a webcam recording what is happening in the cab, including the audio. However, there are a few things that could be improved here. What if you have a mental health problem or a disability, which means you don't want to talk? Uber should be about getting from A to B. It should not be a platform to judge other people's social skills. I've encountered drivers that don't respond to small talk. Do I score them down for this? And what if the passenger does not want to talk? Perhaps they've just finished a long shift at work and are tired. Is this interpreted as rude and therefore needs to be scored down? And by how much do you score somebody down for this? Don't slam the door. What counts as a slam can be subjective. Some cars need more force to close the door than others, and it's equally embarrassing to make multiple attempts to close a passenger door. The passenger might not be used to the level of slam needed to close the door on a particular vehicle. And what about slamming the boot or not pressing the button if there's an automatic hatch? In some countries, I've noticed drivers are more courteous and will help you load your luggage, whereas in others they will sit in the driver's seat, open the boot remotely and expect you to do all the lifting. How many stars would you deduct for a door slam? In my research, I've encountered many other reasons that factor in whether a passenger gets downgraded. Leaving no tip means you get a downgrade. This is absolute nonsense. The price is agreed upon at the start of the ride in the app, and there should be no obligation to tip. Not everyone can afford a tip, and the driver should not ask for one. I know in some cultures it may be considered rude not to tip, but how am I, as an outsider, supposed to know? Eating in the taxi. This I would not do. I agree it can cause a mess and leave unpleasant odours in the car, which may be offensive to the next passenger and the driver. The driver should not have to clean up your mess after you, so I agree with not eating, drinking, or even chewing gum in the taxi. Wiping dirty, oily, smelly hands on the upholstery is not acceptable. Even crumbs in the back of the car can offend. You can manage without food or drink for a short Uber journey, surely. Smoking in the car. Uber community guidelines may indicate a smoke-free environment. Remember, you are in somebody else's car and you should not smoke, vape or take any other substance. I know people who will not go anywhere near the smell of tobacco. So if you're one of those people and you get allocated a ride in a car that smells of smoke, you might want to decline and get another ride. I've seen some comments allowing smoking conditional upon a tip, but I personally wouldn't go down this route. Wait until you get home for your nicotine addiction, or even better, make an appointment in the smoking cessation clinic and quit the habit altogether. You are not cleaning your shoes before you get in. If you have muddy or sand-filled shoes or snow, I would clean them before you get into somebody else's vehicle. It can be expensive to get the taxi cleaned if there is a mess. I've also noticed not all Ubers have foot mats. In some countries I've seen the foot mat as well as the seat wrapped in a bin liner. Sexual intimacy in the car. This might not be very kind to the driver, who may be from a particular religion or culture. It may be acceptable in some cultures to have a degree in intimacy in public, but the taxi is not a public space. It's a private space you have been permitted to occupy for your trip. You should consider waiting until you get home before you do anything intimate. Having friends ride with you that don't behave themselves. This means your rating is reflecting the behavior of your friends, who you should control. Perhaps you need to apologize to the driver before he rates you at the end of your trip if you feel your friends are quite eccentric. It's weird if you don't talk at all. I'm afraid I have to disagree with this. As I mentioned earlier in the video, neurodivergent individuals do not speak during the trip or may not even say hello. You are here to get from A to B. If communication skills are problematic for you because of a medical condition or disability, I would select Uber Assist, which has suitably trained drivers. Uber drivers that are speaking in a foreign language. You will come across a wide variety of Uber drivers in the UK. If you peer from the same ethnic group of the driver, they might try to start a conversation in a non-English language. I can't speak for all cultures and languages, but if a Pakistani driver starts to engage in small talk in Punjabi with me, it can be considered rude not to engage. It was feeling weird being told to sit in the back. As I mentioned, the taxi is a personal space, and some drivers don't feel comfortable with a passenger sitting in the front seat. In some part of the world, it can be compulsory to sit in the back seat. The app will point this out to you. I would say the jury is mixed on this one. You are listening to loud music or video on the phone. You can add to this by making loud, long mobile phone calls. This is sound pollution and may annoy your driver and affect their concentration. Bring your headphones. Even with these, be mindful of loud volumes leaking into the taxi cabin. Conversely, I've sat in cars where drivers put the radio on full volume, with sometimes questionable taste in music.
Hey, they act like they know. Guess I gotta hit them with an update. Okay.
You could ask them to turn it off or the volume down, but now we're getting into conflict, which usually results in lower ratings both ways. You are talking negatively during the ride. If you will engage in conversation, make this casual and pleasant. I would not talk about poor customer service, negative comments about the driver or Uber, complaints about the fee, or topics that polarize people. Indeed, no racist or offensive talk. Remember that your conversation may be being recorded. You are bringing your pet. You should always use a service called Uber Pet if you want to carry an animal. However, I'm aware this is not always an option that shows up. This does not apply to assistance dogs, which can choose any ride. However, animal hairs and bodily fluids cause a mess, and animals that have a smell that can be perceived as unpleasant. Not everyone is an animal lover. Personally, I'm a person who has always given 5 stars to all my trips. I've given tips, and this is almost always when using Uber in a less developed country. However, making the passengers see that they have drivers giving them 1 star without providing a reason and without the ability to challenge the decision risks changing that behavior from someone who always gives 5 stars to drivers to someone who will be much more objective and possibly impulsive. I can only try and identify one ride of mine which was rated 1 star. This was from an airport pickup. I deliberately picked an Uber executive car. My hand luggage did not fit in the boot, and after a short discussion with the driver, I put it in the footwell behind the passenger seat. I did notice the driver was unusually quiet throughout the ride and responded to conversation with single words. I still rated him a 5. Did I make the correct choice? I hope you have found this video useful. Please give me your thoughts and comments on how you find Uber and its rating system. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks everyone.